We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
And we spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn how to turn that content into profit, and I pressed the right button today, just go to contentisprofit.com. All right. I got it right.
Yeah,
I got it right.
I was nervous there for a little bit. I was like, is he going to press the right
I
sound?
saw you seeing the machine, and I was like, I got this, Fonzie. Don't you worry, my man.
Good job,
Don't
guys.
you worry.
Today we have a special treat for you. It is going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to be talking about unleashing your hustle into a six-figure venture.
Woo, baby.
It's going to be what we call juicy.
Hashtag juicy juicy. That's right, Fonzie. And before we get started on that, because that's going to be so good, you have a sponsor for us today.
Indeed we do.
All right.
Thank you for asking, good sir. And today's sponsor is your one and only, and the Biz Bros. Yes, we sponsor our own podcast with Content Momentum. And you might be asking yourself, what is Content Momentum? Well, if you produce a long-form piece of content, just like this podcast that you're listening to or watching, and you need a modern media team to come into your business and help you out and leverage your efforts so you can create value-packed, bite-sized assets and just send them like little minions all over the internet so they can help you amplify your message and get yourself some new clients. We want to help you out. Slide into the DMs at BizBrosGo on Facebook, on Instagram. Let's go.
Let's go. I had my sounds on. This was fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
We're,
guys.
we're hyping ourselves way too much.
I know.
right
Hey,
now.
if you liked it, which I feel like if you like these episodes, go ahead and follow the podcast. Do yourself a favor and do us a favor, and do us a favor and go follow it. I don't know what's happening today. You can find us in every single platform of podcasts and on social media at BizBrosGo.
That is right. And please, or only ask if you find this episode impactful, if today's guest can help you move one step forward and closer to your goal.
Yes.
Please don't forget to share this episode because it might impact somebody else as well.
That's right.
And please leave a 5-star review. We need those reviews. It's going to help the podcast reach more people so we can impact more people as well. Thank you so much.
Long live relationships. Today's guest came straight from a friend and previous Content is Profit superstar, Brandon Strasser. And this fits perfectly since today's guest is one of those entrepreneurs that are a super connector. He thrives by helping people connect with each other.
That is right. And not to mention that he might have what some consider the most epic beard in the entrepreneurial world. Does his wisdom come from his epic beard? I don't know. We're going to have to discover that today.
Absolutely. Today's guest has served thousands of entrepreneurs destroy any shackles that may be holding them back. He founded the Unleash You Now movement. He's the host of the Unleash Your Hustle podcast. And most importantly, he's a proud father.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to learn more. I wonder if he uses any beard oils. Either way, please welcome founder of Unleash You Now, the one and only Michael Fabber. Let's go, Michael.
You guys were getting me hyped backstage.
There we go.
Let's go. That's the whole idea, you know?
It worked. I'm just saying, if it wasn't my kid's birthday, I would be in Mexico with you, hopefully introducing you every time you come on stage, man. And we'll leave it at that. We'll tell the audience what's happening in Mexico in just a little bit.
This is a rehearsal for when you're stepping out on stage like that, right? Like, just look at it this way.
Yeah. You did great, by the way. So, yeah, you're good to go.
Yep.
Nice.
Dude, Michael.
A lot of hard work for me.
Yeah. Dude, we're so excited to connect, to have you here on the show. Thank you for coming. Your story is truly inspiring. We connected a few weeks back, and completely honestly here, I had no idea who you were, and I was like, this is gonna be so exciting. And then after, I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are creating such a massive impact in the world and entrepreneurs, and we freaked out about frameworks, and I'm like, this is great. We need to bring you on the show, man. And what you guys are doing is super awesome. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. But for those that don't know you, or for those that maybe know a little bit about you, why don't you share with us a little bit of backstory? How do you start in this journey? Why Unleash? And everything that's coming in the future.
man, where to start? I was like the ultimate screw up, right? Like I messed up like every aspect you could mess up. Big Mike's in the house. What's up, brother? Right. I was always a hustler, right? And I don't mean like the Hova way necessarily, but I was a hustler. I would walk around and find change and get penny candy and then go sell it for more to people that were too lazy to go to the store and get it.
Yeah.
Right. So I was always trying to find a way to scheme. And then from that, I would buy the little 3-pack baseball cards, all right, with the bubble gum in it. And I would try to sell the baseball cards and I would eat the bubble gum because I wasn't smart enough to chew it. All right. And I like, when I say that, I'm like, I failed 3rd grade. I didn't know that was a real thing until I did it. And I was just like, I thought they just passed you till 8. All right. So they don't. So everybody that passed 3rd grade know you accomplished something. All right.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. You accomplished something I didn't accomplish. All right. But I go through phases of my life. The first phase of my life, I was the villain. Right. Like I was the villain of my story. I was causing a lot of havoc and trouble for people. I didn't know how to deal with pain and being brokenhearted or hurt. So I thought as a man, you had to be angry because that made you a man. Right. So I spent like 12 to 20. I was angry. I lost my brother when I was 10 years old. He's one of the 22 you heard that served the country, took his own life. I lost a buddy of mine in high school, felt a lot of guilt from that. Lost a mentor of mine in middle school. I lost my pops right after high school. So it was like one thing after another, and not being able to express that pain made me I wanted people to feel it.
Yeah.
Because then I felt like seen, heard, and felt. Everybody wants those things. If I didn't know how to express it, so no one could be like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So at the end, I was getting in trouble. I was in and out of court, being locked up. By 20 years old, I was facing more time in jail than I was years old. And I had this crazy 1 week. I found out I was going to have a daughter. I got shot at, right, in a situation that I shouldn't have been part of. Right. And I beat the last case I ever had, at least at this point. I hope it's the last case I ever have, but I beat the last case I ever had in like a week span. And I just was like, you know what? I need to change, right? Like something needs to give or I'm not going to be around for it. All right. So you think that was like, oh, great job, Mike. Like you figured it out. But really what I figured out was to be fake as anything because I didn't know what anything was real.
Yeah.
Right. So I became all about material. All right. I wanted to prove everyone I made it. Right. Like all the people that don't like new money, I wanted to rub it in their face that I was it. Right. So I bought the big house, the fancy car. I had like a Cadillac Escalade on spinning rims that were like 24s with 6 12-inch subwoofers in the back. Right. All tinted out. I wore like matching velour suits with matching Timberlands and a backward Kango hat every day. And I didn't have a friend good enough to tell me I looked like the most ridiculous person on earth. So me and those guys barely talk anymore. But I made this like fake reality.
Yes.
Right. Until 2011, one of my best friends took his own life. And that's when my fake reality shattered. And I had to realize like I was about nothing real. Everything I said I wasn't. All right. I wasn't a man's man. I wasn't there for the people I said I'd be there for. All right. And I kind of like shattered then. I broke apart. I didn't know what to do. It was all about taking my own life. I was sitting on Lewis Beach with a gun in my mouth. A picture of my daughter fell in my pocket, and the second time my daughter saved my life and became my life, right? So I would say when my daughter was born, she saved my life and became my life in a heartbeat. And she doesn't understand when I say that I actually mean it. Like she saved my life multiple times. Then I kind of went on that discovery. You got to go find yourself, they tell you. You're out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Just go find you, buddy. Right. So like I went looking behind every tree, picked up every rock. Like I couldn't find me. I was like, where am I? Right. And I was sitting in like Mobile, Alabama. No offense to Mobile, Alabama. It's a nice spot, I guess. But the Mobile Inn is not a nice spot in Mobile, Alabama. And I'm sure there's some nice things in Mobile, Alabama. I missed them. All right. So I'm sitting there and I started looking at my life. Right. And I was looking at that guy that was a troublemaker.
Yeah.
All right. And then I figured out I created that person because that's what I thought would serve me, protect me, and save me, right? And then I made this business person because I thought that's what I needed to be, right? And that's what would be accepted and protected, right? So it was scary and powerful to realize I was the biggest problem in my life, but I also could create my life the way I wanted. I just had to know what I really wanted.
Yeah.
And that's what sent me down this journey for Unleash You Now. And when Unleash You Now came in, we started in 2011, but it was CMF. In 2017, I realized I wanted nothing named after me per se because it wasn't about me. Right. And it's that big moment in your life when you realize like this doesn't have to be about me. I got nothing left to prove this way.
Yeah.
I got things to prove with helping people and serving people and guiding people, but I don't have to prove it with my name. Because if you're a movement, it can't be about you.
Yeah.
It has to be about something bigger. And I didn't want a business anymore. I wanted a movement, because movements live forever and businesses average, 2 years?
Yep.
So I definitely didn't want a business that was 2 years. I wanted something that was a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I was asked a great question, and it was a basketball coach, Coach Darby, asked me this question. He said, have you ever made anyone's life easier? And when he asked me the question, I didn't know the answer, right?
Yeah.
Or I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
So then after everything happened, and I realized what I was going to do, or like what I was going to try to do, what my mission was, what my purpose was going to be, I said, every day I'm going to make sure I can answer that question. Yes, I made someone's life easier today. I have to be able to answer that question every day, and it has to be the answer yes. So I have to do whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah.
So we switched it to Unleash You Now, and Unleash You Now is really about unleashing your inner greatness and masterpiece. I don't care what you call it. You can call it God, universe, tree, dirt, Valhalla. Like, I don't care. Right? That's not my debate. Whatever that is, I don't think they're like, hey, Mike, you're gonna have an all right life. Hey, Tommy, you're gonna have a great life. Hey, Victor, shitty life, bro. Sorry. Right? Like, I don't think that's how it's going. It's not like some lucky lotto system that we're here to create something great or not create something great. I think we all have that within us. It's, are we willing to step into that and go through the fire to be forged to be able to do it, to serve?
Yeah.
Right? Because when we serve others, the lessons we serve them are hard. Right? So we have to go through those lessons to grasp it. Right?
Yes.
And then when we serve them, we're like, listen, we lived this. We did this. Right? Like, we experienced this. We either learned or earned it. Right?
Yeah.
And now we're going to share it with you, so you don't have to go through all the crap that I went through to get this. All right. And so we all have this greatness within us, meant to serve. Gifts are meant to be given. We all have gifts that are meant to be given. And it's like the tree story, right? The first best time was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Yeah.
So unleash yourself. So unleash you and now. And that's what we're all about. Our community, our programs, the retreats, masterminds, everything that you said earlier, courses, everything we do is about unleashing your inner greatness, letting the world see it, create your masterpiece, move the flag further for the next generation, and do even better.
Wow.
The crowd is going crazy. Just saying, like, yeah.
What an incredible story, man. Really. There's like I mentioned, so many lessons in there. You can obviously clearly see the transition and the growth and I mean, obviously the pain too that you have experienced in your life to get where you are right now. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that says this. Thank you so much for, making that decision every day to actually make someone's life easier every single day, because I'm sure you have helped hundreds, if not thousands, by sharing these experiences. And it is not easy to put yourself in that spot, because it takes vulnerability, a lot of it. And, we can dig into that in just a moment. I do have a question that arises from your story, and it is, why were you kind of like obsessed with proving other people that you were successful, right? And I'm asking this because I think a lot of people, to some degree, start there, right? They are like, hey, I want to prove other people. I want to show other people that I'm successful, instead of why I don't just focus on myself, and I got to prove to myself that I am successful, right? I got to do those things. Why that fixation, and what have you encountered in the people that you're helping, right? To help them move past that?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
All right. And I love when great questions are asked, because I have to take a second and be like, how do I answer this thoroughly and properly, and not just try to do it soundbite or some BS kind of floating top level thing. Right. And one, I think it's like partly the underdog mentality. Right. So I think part of the underdog mentality is to show what we are, right? To prove what we are, to show what we are, and be what we are. So I think, and then that goes into the chip on the shoulder, right? So when I was younger, I had a chip on my shoulder, right? I was born without the ability to hear, right? So I didn't get the ability until I was 3 years old. I didn't learn it. It wasn't like some skill. It was just the ability, right? And then, so I didn't learn how to talk until I was like 5. So I'm starting school with people. They're making complete sentences. I'm sitting here trying to sound out A, right? Yeah. So automatically at the bat, then I failed 3rd grade, like we talked about. In 5th grade, I would have to walk back down to 3rd grade to do reading and writing, right? So the whole time that's teaching me, right? That's making me think I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, right? I shouldn't be here, right? Something's wrong with me. So then there's two ways when you get that. They're both the victim look at it, but there's a way where you accept it. You go, oh my God, I am, right? Like, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
Right. Or it's that part where it's just like, forget you, watch me. Right. It's almost becomes your fire.
Yeah.
So for so long, that was my fire, and I didn't know it. And it just kept adjusting itself. And everywhere I would put my attention, that energy was still where my attention was going.
Yeah.
Right. So my energy was the same energy level. My attention was just shifting. So when I was like, when I thought I was like Mr. Street, right, which is hilarious because I'm like one of the whitest people you ever see, right, with red hair. I was like, when I thought I was like Mr. Street, like I put all my attention there. Right. So it was that fire. That's why I only have like 7 teeth left. I was getting hit all the time. I thought I was good at fighting. I was just really good at getting beat up. Right. But I was like, no, we're going to fight. Right. Like I wish I learned faster then. Right. So I would still have more teeth. But it was all about that mentality where it was like, I have to show you what I'm worth. Like you have to recognize what I am in order for me to be enough to me.
Yeah.
So even though I made it an outside thing, it was always an inside thing.
Yeah.
It's like, why I love sports, right? Is because sports is a great equalizer. You put us on that field or that court, your daddy's money means nothing, right? Their connections mean nothing. It's going to be me and you, and we're all by this rule, and we all have the same objective, and we're going to find out who's better.
Yeah.
Right. So I always loved sports because it was a great equalizer. Like we're going to find out, me and you, we're going to find who rises higher. Right. And then it comes to the point where it's like, when you realize it's an all you thing and it has nothing to do with the people that you're making it about.
Yeah.
That's when it really starts shifting, where you're like, all right, what do I have to address to be able to make this something that serves me and the people around me? That's not detrimental to myself or the people around me.
Yeah.
And then you can elevate yourself and the people you serve to another level.
Yeah, I love growing up. I remember a teacher saying, a lot of times we want to help others, but sometimes we got to help ourselves first, right? And that just stuck to my mind for the longest time. But I don't think I really understood what it was until my entrepreneurial journey, honestly, right? And a few weeks back, we had Steve Sims in the podcast, and he made us this. Yeah, he's awesome. And he made us this trick question. He's like, do you think you're selfish, right? And we were like, we don't think we are, right? And then he's like, do you think it's wrong to be selfish? And we told him, we're like, we don't think it's wrong to be selfish either, right? And he said a lot of the issues that people think they just have to give it away to other people at first, but they haven't really realized, right? Done that internal work that you're talking about so they can fully serve others. So you need to be selfish at first. And I think you found that moment when you decided, I need to do that, right? Instead of just trying to prove other people what I should be, how I want them to perceive me, right? Mr. Street, I need to be selfish and help me because I really want to help others. But you probably couldn't help others being Mr. Street, right? You needed to find that version that was going to be able to help others. So when it comes to that, being selfish, I found that there's a lot of internal resistance because now people are thinking, oh man, I'm not actually helping others, right? You're like, it's like this pull battle that you're like, I'm not helping others. I'm just like focusing on myself. How do you get detached from that resistance? How do you actually work on yourself so you can actually move on to the next level and put it in your words so we can unleash, right? Ourselves.
Right. So I love that you said that. Literally, when you said that, I was sharing this and I said selfish to selfless. Right. Nice. It's like you have to be selfish to be able to be selfless with others. Right. And it's, I always go, I think some of the older phrases used are some of the best phrases used. So I'm like, why try to recreate something and where I'm really just copying something anyway and recreating. I love when someone changes like 3 words of a quote and they say it's their quote now. Like, great job. Right. So creative of you. All right. And so it's like whatever's poured into my cup, whatever I pour into that thing is going to come out.
Yeah.
Right. So it's even selective before I gained mindset, right? Before I really did that mindset work, that interior work, I had to really be cautious of what music I even listened to. All right, because there is some music. I mean, like Limp Bizkit, maybe I thought I was gonna break walls, right? Like it's like there's some music that made me want to like run through the window, do the Hawaiian punch guy, and then just run around out there and be crazy like Tasmanian Devil. So I had to really be selective until I had that mental strength where I was like, this wasn't going to impact this unless I let it, right? So, and that took a long time for me. Wow. So I'm like, this wasn't a quick fix. Yeah. So it's what we have to understand is we're going to pour into our people's cup. We're going to pour into the people's in our lives cup. Our families, right? If we have kids, significant others, our friends, business partners, the people we're trying to serve, our acquaintances, we're pouring into them. What are we pouring into them? So if you really care about the people you serve, well, then you have to be very selective of what you're letting in because that's going to come out. Right. So when personal growth, that's like to me, I say we're all addicts. Right. So I'm really not big on the addict term because I think we're all addicts. It's what's our drug of choice. Right. Some people run like 18 miles a day. Right. Like I think they're nuts. Right. But that's their addiction. Like that's their drug of choice. Right. I run 18 miles in a day. You're going to find me on the side of the road. Right. So the idea is like, all right, cool. Like that's their thing. Like personal growth is like my drug of choice. Right. And why is because I know the more I do that, dive into that and take that in, I can serve more.
Yeah.
All right. So it's like when you understand that you are impacting the people around you just by what you take in and do. And if you really care about the people around you, take in that equation and see what it equals.
Yeah. Dude, Michael, I love it. Again, it's control your inputs, control your outputs, right? Like we've mentioned that a lot in the show previously, and with amazing.
I stole it from you. I changed 2 words.
Thank you. That's not our credit, but it seems to be a trait, right? Like that with very successful people. And
quick parenthesis, real quick. Give credit where credit is due, right? I mean, every single time, man. I don't know why people are so afraid of doing that, but all right. Close parentheses.
Okay. I want to kind of, this is like another parenthesis, but I want to kind of break down what you've shared here today as far as like the message, right? Because obviously we have the show called Content is Profit. We talk a lot about publishing, about breaking those beliefs to be ourselves, to be able to serve others, right? And I've been sitting down, we're not sitting down, standing today, and listening to your answers. And from the minute number 1 of the show, you have been completely transparent. You have been completely confident of your story, right? As in what happened, right? A lot of people have a lot of fear when it comes to share their stories, right? And what you shared was really significant, right? And that's the path that you took, and that's the path that led you to where you sit today, and is allowing you to serve so many, right? So with your stories, you're inspiring thousands of entrepreneurs that you guys have helped through your products, your courses, your events. And it's incredible. And I want to, highlight that for the listener, for the people watching right now, right? Like inside of your business, are you taking your stories? Are you using it as a superpower, right? Like personally, like I think that's something that personally I don't feel we've explored that much. And I remember this event that we went to, PodMax, incredible podcasting event where you network and you do all this stuff. And we normally are hosts, and then we were a guest, right? And then we're like, hey, let's just show up to the pre-meeting, the prep meeting, right? And our message was always focused about the publishing side of things and the business side of things, because that was our market. Those are the people that we were having conversations with. And this was a little bit more general. And I remember like this first mock-up interview that we did, the guy's like, well, that's great, but like, where's your story? Where's your story, man? Like, we want to hear about you guys. And that was like really intense to me, because we're like, I lost my footing. I'm like, this is not the story that we used to share, right? And that was a very big lesson, and I want to highlight. And then after that, we started to share a little bit more of like where we grew up. We grew up in Venezuela, in a third world country, right? Like personally, I was kidnapped, right? We went through like these crazy situations to be able to get to a place where we can create our own opportunities, which in this case is United States of America, right? And we're really proud to be able to do that, right? So that was like the first moment that I remember like going through the story, and I'm like, man. And then as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, we need to share more of that. Like that's incredible. That's so much power right through the lessons. And then as we're debriefing kind of what you're saying, where your reality got shattered, right? Like nothing named after you. I thought that was pretty powerful too. But like, I want to create a legacy, right? Like, how can we add value? It's not just me. It's like the team, the community, everything else, the underdog mentality, right? And then being selfish, right? All this stuff is connected to your own experience. So through that, you're providing incredible value and incredible lessons that now you're able to apply through everything that you offer. So that was like, as I was sitting here in silence, that was what was going through my head. I'm like, whoa, everything is connected. So the lesson here for the people trying to publish and trying to get their message out there is literally take notes on how you share your story and be like, how can I apply that today to serve my audience, to serve my clients, to serve my community, to serve my family, because I feel it's very powerful and people are connecting with you at that level.
Yeah, I'm extremely curious to see how was your evolution on sharing your message, right? Like, how did it feel the first time that you did it to now?
Scary. Right? Like, I'm trying not to curse in her show anymore, but scary as could be, intimidating, right? It was that fear of, so it's all those things we worry about, right? Will it be accepted? Will I be judged for it? And here's the thing, I am going to be judged for it.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the thing, some are not going to accept me. And it was really coming to that where it was like, it's like what we tell our people. It's like, the first, you got to know who you serve. The second, you got to know who you don't. Right? Like, there's people that we don't want to be involved in some of our stuff. Yeah. And it's because we don't align. Like, our core isn't the same. Like, what we're striving for. Because if you're not about impact at all, if you're just about money, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
Right? It's cool. I've been there. Good job. Right? Like, you're gonna get some really cool shit. Right? Like, good luck. Right? Do your thing. Enjoy it. But material. I made the post today. I quoted a Nipsey Hussle line where he said, "Material is an illusion."
Yeah.
Right. So it's don't be in love with an illusion.
Yeah.
Because that's when bad things really happen. And then it was understanding that our story, right? That's all we got, right? Like that, you said it, that's your superpower, right? Because that's yours and yours alone.
Yeah.
Right? Like no one went through what you went through, feeling what you felt, the way you felt it at the time in which you went through it, right? That was all you. Yeah. So there's a couple of things I think we need to do in this space, and especially like you guys are crushing the area, right? You guys are crushing the space.
Thank you.
I'm trying to catch up. But when you're doing that, it's like there's a lot of people doing that Instagram lifestyle, and they do the Instagram poses, right? And they do the I'm in a jet, right? Look at this jet I own, right? Yeah. And they're like, look at this Lamborghini I own, and look at this mansion I own, and it's like cool.
And,
that's all,
and right? They look 20.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I'm the greatest life coach. I'm 19 years old. I'm like 19. If I was your life coach, we would both be in trouble. Literally and figuratively. But the idea is like we are too accustomed to sharing success and not the crap that we went through to get to it. Right? And it's a lot of times because someone said this, listen, and I love what you said, parentheses, give credit where credit's due. Literally, most of the time before I start speaking, I'm like, someone probably said this at another time and probably said it better, just so we know. There's no original, everybody's coming off of somebody else's, and it's fine, that's good, that's how we move the flag further.
Absolutely.
But we just have to, right, let's not pretend like, it's like the guy that's like, oh, Bitmoji, and I was like, oh, like the thing you create? They're like, no, ideal client. I'm like, why don't you just say that? Right? Like, like, you made me think I was creating something on my phone, right? Like, I was like, oh, okay. Right? But it's the more we can share that parts, the hurt parts, the failure parts, right? Those tough parts, the scars we have, the broken heart, that makes other people that are going through those parts know that's part of the process. That's part of the journey. That's part of it. You just got to keep going. Just don't stop. Because then if you stop, it's worthless. Yeah. If you keep going, it could be worth it. Right? Because there's no such thing as fair. Fair is just this thing we create. All right? We're like, no, the way he looked at me wasn't fair. It's like, what? But it's so it's not about if it's fair. It's about if it's worth it. And only you control that by if you keep going to make the worth of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. You just mentioned stopping makes things worthless, right? And we live in, you just mentioned, right, this society where it's like we're just accustomed to sharing the successes. It's right now literally it's like all about those quick wins, right? And you hear all the time, it's like, oh, that overnight success. And people don't see what goes under that, right? It's like, hey, that person spent 8 years creating content that nobody saw.
This reminds me
before they created this audience, right?
Yeah, before you continue, like this, like what you just said, we literally just hop off a call with this incredible person, right? But they had a reference that I think is very wrong for the type of business that she wanted to build, or the type of publishing that she wanted to build, right? And it's like, hey, my kids like consume, like they're publishing on YouTube and they have a show. They just started, right? Like less than a year ago. And my kids, they see this guy, Mr. Beast. And I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Beast, but this guy is the fastest, the growth, like bigger YouTuber in the world right now, right? Yeah. Side businesses, they launched an app with like 300,000 people using it at the same time during this, like finger on an app is called. And it's like, how do I get there? Like, how do we monetize like this guy? This guy's making millions of dollars off of what they do, and they give away houses and they do a lot of good deeds, right? And I'm like, well, the first thing that we got to understand is that these guys have been publishing for 10 years, 3 videos a week, and it's not just like a live show that is not edited. This thing is like a production, right? Like they started very like frictionless, very basic, but it has evolved into this incredible machine, right? So sometimes we have those references, and we gotta measure ourselves, like where is our capacity? What are our resources? Like what can I execute today? So like Fonzie was saying, that quick path to those wins, right? Like we have to kind of reframe our brain to the wins that we can actually get today. Not like, am I gonna get like 1 million subscribers in 2 months? That's probably very, very hard. I think the fastest person has been Eric in a year.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe, probably.
But that's for an entrepreneur, right? That can be really challenging if we don't have the resources, the teams, and even the knowledge, right? Or mentally, right? If we're prepared to get to that point, right? Because there's a lot of personal growth. So I just wanted to get like that little parenthesis, like what is like our capacity, like what's our reference, right, inside of us. And I feel like you always go back to your theme of serving my people. Serving is not about me, right? It's not about my name. It's about my customers. What are they winning? How are we filling their cup, right? To make sure that gets moving forward. So again, everybody publishing, right? Today, reassess, like where are we? Like what is really our objective, right? It's not about being on the plane with the selfie, right? It's about really serving our customers, our community.
That's a pretty long parenthesis right there.
Close parenthesis. we got the crowd cheering. Oh, okay, thank you, crowd. Thank you.
No, I love it. I love the parenthesis here.
Thank you. Yeah, it was more like a new paragraph.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a whole new paragraph in there. Michael, where I was going with this question is people got this, dopamine society, quick win. They just want to get things quick. So they don't stay consistent with the things that they need to do, right? They might try it, dabble it here, and then it's like, no, it doesn't work. Didn't give me the results I was dreaming of. Let me move on to the next thing. So going off of your stopping makes things worthless, which I agree 100%. How do you get people to stay committed for the long run, right? Because, and I want to frame this, I want to use the New Year's resolution where people are like, they put this goal super high, right? And they're like, oh, I'm going to lose, I don't know how much weight. And they just start going at it for like 2 weeks. And then it's like, okay, I'm done. Let me just munch on my chips, right? So instead of, okay, let me boil that big goal into actionable steps and then celebrate, like my brother was saying, celebrate those little wins. But there has to be some work inside, some mental work in there that they need to transition that perspective from, I'm going to get my quick win to how do I stay consistent doing these things? And kind of like enjoying the process, right? It feels like people don't enjoy the process anymore. They want to jump the process and just get to the destination. So how do we get people in that mindset?
Right. That's a great question. You said a lot of the answers in the question. So I was like, thank you. You give me hints. One time my dad got pulled over. Well, he told the story. He got pulled over. He was like, back in the day, drinking and driving was a lot different than it is now. All right. He got pulled over and he couldn't remember. He was doing the cop pulled him over and started questioning him about being drunk or not. And he was like, say the alphabet. And my dad was like, I could not think of the alphabet. And the guy said, Edgar C. Faber. because that was his name, Edgar Charles Faber. So it's Edgar C. Faber. And he was like, the cop gave me a C. He gave me a hint. So it was like C, A, B, C. Right? Like, and then he was like, if that cop never said that, I was done for. Right? But it's all about, I love how you said reframing it, right? Because it's all about reframing it. So Simon Sinek says something that's absolutely true. We all see the mountaintop, and we all want that. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, we all want to be at the top of Mount Everest, but very few want to climb Mount Everest.
Yep.
Right? So it's understanding one, you walked right into this is like our Create the Dream Life course, right? So you have to know where you want to finish, right? Your finish lines. Here's the funny thing about finish lines, and you guys are experiencing this, I'm sure, as well, is that when you start climbing that mountain, you get higher and you see other mountains, and you're like, no, I want to climb that one now, right? Because I'm like, no, we could do something bigger and better, right? When I first started, I wanted to impact one person. I literally went to a diner. This dude was sitting by himself at the counter. I ran up to him and was like, hey, I can help you. What's your biggest problem? And the guy turned to me and said, you. And I was like, all right. And I just walked away. I was like, I helped somebody.
Check.
There we go.
Success.
Already a win, right? So I was just like, all right, maybe this isn't how I'm supposed to do this, right? So it's that idea, like, you know where you want to get to, and then the second part is like knowing where you are, right? Because you want to be a millionaire, but if you only have $1, all right, like get to $10. Right? Yeah. Or 5, however you want to make it. So it's like knowing your mountaintop is huge, and your mountaintop's going to keep adjusting. That's fine. That's good. But we got to have one to start, and we got to know where we are. Right? And we can do this in every facet of life, like your relationships with your significant other. What kind of relationship do you want? What's your mountaintop? Where are you currently? Now you know your race. Right? Now, here's the difference. We can't just look at those two spots and say this is failure or success, because that's silly. Right? Because then if we can't measure it, we can't manage it. Right? So we have to be able to make some things that we can measure along the journey. Right? So it's what he said was exactly right. Achievement stones. Right? And both of you guys were so spot on with what you were saying. I was almost like, I don't have to answer this. You guys did. And it's going to just sound like I said your question back to you and answer for him. Right? Because it's like, one, celebrate. We celebrate we've been lucky to see some success. I always love what you guys say, like the overnight success. I'm like, yeah, it's only 10 years, right? Like we're almost on year 11. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Like we just didn't stop with all the ass whoopings we took, right? Like it was like someone literally 3 days ago was like, where'd you come from? I'm like, brother, man, I've been doing this like 10, 11 years, right? Like, give me a second.
It's like, how much time do you got?
Right. I'm starting to get whites in my beard. Like I've been doing this a minute. And all it means is that we're not willing to stop, right? Because like you said, if you stop, it's worthless. So celebrate the achievement stones, not just that ultimate journey you're looking for, right? But the achievement stones. So let's celebrate getting $10, $50, $100, right? $500, $1,000, right? So you create these achievement stones along the way where you know you're making progress, because we're human beings. We desire progress, right? Like why do we get frustrated when we feel like we're not making progress? Talked about the guy losing weight. You start a diet. Oh my God, you lose like 10 pounds quick. You're like, boom, I'm going to be in my beach body, do it more weeks. Right. And then that weight is gone and that other weight does not move for like 6 months. Right. So it's that 6 months of where you don't see progress. That's where you start struggling and going, damn, I'll just eat the chips. Right. So it's like you have to stay because, you're not going to see it today. It's like brushing your teeth today won't make your teeth white, but doing it multiple times daily, regularly. Right. Going to the gym is going to make me like bulk today. All right. But eating the donuts is going to make me bulk in the wrong way.
In a different part of your body.
I'm going to get growth, not the kind I want. Right?
Yeah. Bigger pants.
So, not the good kind of right? Right. So I was going to say, I was like, if that's the case, I'm eating some donuts. No, but it's like, so those achievement stones, and then like, what's the step? Like, take a step. What's the step towards that direction? What's one actionable thing you can do today? I guess that, hey, not buying lunch out, right? I saved $10. Cool, there you go, right? Like whatever it is, that next to then you can start getting yourself progress and seeing that, because we all know about the science of momentum and how progress is a huge part of that thing, right? So it's being able to understand going through that journey, those little steps. And the second part of that, the thing that I don't think we talk about most is that every goal we have, that's a logical goal, is for an emotional thing, right? So if like one of the greatest like activities to do is the 1, 2, 3 Bruce Snyder, where it's like, what's a goal you have that is very meaningful for you to complete? Number 2 is what feeling would you get when you complete that goal? Number 3 is a time frame in which to complete that goal by. What you tell me at the end of you doing that exercise is your goal is really number 2. You want that feeling. Now, the problem is we're logical beings, right? So then we want this feeling, and that sounds ridiculous to us. Like, we just want to feel like accomplished. What do you mean? Right? So we go, all right, brain, this is our logical computer of our body. How can I make this make sense so I don't sound like a lunatic when I tell someone this is what I want to do?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh, I want to buy a house because I feel accomplished, right? All right. Well, now the problem is our logical brain now limited us. So we think the only way we can get that feeling is by accomplishing that goal. Not understanding that there's probably 100 ways we can feel accomplished: daily, weekly, monthly, right? Quarterly, and like annually. We can do this a million times, but our brain is so focused on that one thing, we're missing all these other options. Now, what are you like getting that feeling you desire 100 more times? What kind of life is that? What kind of relationships are you going to be? What kind of person are you going to be for the people you care about? You're going to be better because you're going to feel better. Your energy is going to be higher. Your vibration is going to be higher.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can get away from that one thing as our thing, and the island that we want to get to is that feeling, and then how many vessels can we take to that island? Our life, us as people, the people we serve, everything around us is better.
Yeah.
Wow. Michael, I just want to say that you're just dropping some knowledge bomb here. So many what we call golden boulders that I ran out of ink in my pen right now.
That was my objective when I started.
Success.
But I love this talk, right? And
yeah.
You know, I'm going to relate this to a little bit of the content that we produced when we started and we wanted to have this podcast, right? We actually tried about 2 years ago to have our own podcast. We called it Brews and Bros at the moment, right? I'm actually glad it didn't work out because we would be like alcoholics at this point.
Alcoholics, yeah. We're doing this 3 times a week, you know, and then
it would have been rough.
Yeah,
but
beer over the computers.
The issue was we were looking at that big macro picture, right? And we were trying to operate all the way up there, never feeling fulfilled because guess what? We were never accomplished any single episode. Like, we just put so much friction in the entire process. We had like 2 different cameras that they, as DSLRs, for those that know a little bit about videography, they have timers. They have 20-minute timers, most DSLRs. So after 20 minutes, one of us would have to get up and press the record button again. So imagine now, after recording everything, we would have to edit like 6 different files. Not only that, when we were speaking, if we would make a mistake, it's like, oh no, let's start all over again from the very beginning. So it just became so challenging because we were just focused on this big thing instead of let's work on the first episode, right? And just get it out and celebrate that, get that momentum and move on to the next thing. And then we started what we call the 45 Live, which is a challenge that we personally did so we could, you know, remove all these false beliefs about publishing, and we could actually go out there and share our message, right? And the framework that we created for ourselves, we called it the minimum viable content. Is what is the minimum amount of effort that I can put to get the maximum amount of result? And the whole idea was to get those wins, those consistent wins. For us, that looked going live on Facebook every single day for 45 days in a row. It is very frictionless. Doesn't take too long to press the live button, right? So for us, we started celebrating like, oh, we did it. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Day 17, we got a business deal out of it. Somebody was watching unexpectedly. They were like, hey, we want to work with you guys. That was the biggest contract for us at the moment that changed everything. And we're like, oh, massive win. We celebrated. So fast forward, we've actually talked about this a little bit, is kind of like creating this book. This is a book idea about the minimum viable life, right? And I think what you were sharing, and by minimum viable life, I'm not talking about being lazy so we can get the maximum amount of results, but I'm relating it to what is all this friction in our life that we can remove so we can actually take those little steps that you're talking about, right? So we can actually have those little wins, those progressions along the journey, and then develop those habits that are going to lead us to success. So I love what you're talking about because I feel like it sounds cliche, right? Is that all saying that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey? And I feel people have forgotten about that journey, right? They have forgotten about how awesome it actually is to share your message, to build relationships instead of, let me have 1 million subscribers, right? Actually, we were talking to Adam Scheibel. I don't know if you met him yet. He's amazing. He has the podcast business school, and he was talking about, you know how awesome it is to have a small audience, because every person that comes in, you can give them the personal treat. You can send them a message, talk to them. Imagine if you have 1 million people. You cannot do that, right? Like, it's going to be extremely challenging. So enjoy that process, right? And again, we keep going back to reframing these issues for people. How do they do that? How do they get in that mindset? I think it takes a lot of discipline, right? Can we dive a little bit into that? Because it takes a lot of discipline to consistently create content as well, right? So how do people get into that discipline? And I'm asking this very selfishly because I'm trying to go to sleep early every single day, just so you know. How do...
No, I'm the worst person for that.
but you're one of the best to build that discipline, right? That is going to change your life for the better. So how do we do this? How do we start tapping into that?
Okay, there's so many different ways to go here. That was a great question. You're getting me on these questions. So first, I would say everything's how our perspective of it, right? How do we view this, right? So I think all too often we think we achieve goals rather than grow to goals, right? We grow. We have to come. Right now, I'm not the person that can have 1 million followers, right? So it's like, rather than saying, how can I get 1 million followers? How can I be the person that's worthy to serve 1 million people as my followers on my page, right? Like right now, do you see my posts, right? Like most of my posts, people think I'm trying to fight somebody. I'm going to be on World Star tomorrow. No, but so the idea is like, I have to become that person. That's the journey, is me going through that, climbing those obstacles, learning those skills, right? Gaining that information, gaining that knowledge, and being able to then articulate in a way that people resonate with and can actually serve them. Yeah. Right. Everybody wants 1 million followers, but they don't know how they'll serve 1 million people. Right. Like, listen, our number on the wall is 1 billion people. We want to impact 1 billion people before I go. All right. So that's a lot of freaking people. Right. Like I gotta become the man that can do that. So one, it's becoming the thing that can do the thing. We always see the thing and we think, oh, I can just do that. Yeah. Right. It's like when we watch sports and they're like, oh, why didn't he just do this? I'm like, oh yeah, that's really easy from here. But when you play the sport, it's a lot harder, right? In real time, game time, right? Yeah. So I think that's one of the things is making sure we understand our job in this isn't the ending. Our job is to become the person that can get the ending.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And that should be our focus. Right. Then the other thing is, what are we about? And when I say that, it's like, what's your mission? And when I talk to people about their mission, it's a lot about movements, normally a mission based, right? There's a thing you're trying to get to, or a life you're trying to show. And then there's like this new area that we all can be, right? Yeah. And it's every day we're going to find your commitment to your mission, right? Like by every decision you make, right? So it's like, if you're like, yeah, I'm trying to go to sleep early because I think that'll better serve my people, but I'm not doing it. Well, then I say, how committed are you? Because your commitment's in your choices. Yeah. Right. Your dedications in your choices, your decisions. So when we're saying that, it's like, what's our mission about? Now, me, I'm a late dude, so I'm going to be up late. All right. So I normally show up late. Clearly, you guys know I'm 2 days late. Right. But I also wake up early, so it's really weird. But not like that 4:30 club. I don't do that. Like that. That's the kind of torture I'm not ready for. That's not going to help our mission. Yeah. I'm probably upset with somebody.
Hey, talk about clarity, right? On who you are. That's awesome.
Right. Right. But it's all about like, I don't see like, if you're up at 4:30 or up at 1:30, if you're serving your people, you're serving your people. I don't know. Right. Like I always got confused with people that argue like you have to be up at 3:30. I'm like, why?
So you cannot serve people after 8 a.m.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm like, listen, when I'm up at 3 a.m., very few people are up with me. Right? Yeah. So it's really like, what are you really doing this for and about? And when you know that, every decision you make, listen, there's one, or you're on a street, you're getting closer or you're getting farther away. Because I don't believe like, if you make the same choice, you're gonna be in the same position. I'm not a guy that subscribes to that. If you make the choice to eat that donut every day, you're not the same weight. Yeah. You are heavier, right? You are more out of shape. Your body's worse off. Right. So it's like, if I make those decisions every day, I'm not staying in that same spot. I'm getting worse. Yeah. So it's now you're not going to make, we're human. We're not going to make every decision that best serves everything. All right. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic with one another. And also I don't think if you did, it would really best serve you, because sometimes you got to take a break. Like sometimes you got to like look at a wall, right? Like sometimes you got to watch grass grow, right? Like maybe not necessarily that, but you have to do something that's like, that's just chill for you, right? Like turn this thing off for, if you guys are anything like me, my brain is like all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, yo, there has to be moments where I turn this thing off, where I'm going to be like in the corner, headbutting the wall.
Yes.
Right. So the idea is like, one, how are we becoming what we need to become for it? What's our mission? What gets us closer to it? How can I make more of those choices every day, so I know I got closer every day? I would say that's like, you get 1% better every day, you're 365% better that year. That's small. Like that's when people are like, no, that's too small. I'm like, no, listen, like 365% better that year by going 1% better every day. Like stop trying to have the 1 million followers today and do something that, you know, you can get 1 follower from or 10 followers. Because think if you increase that 1% more every day, your 1% is greater every day because you're increasing it every day, right? That's some real nerd talk.
Yeah. You tell them you tell them like, hey, people get excited for a 10% growth in their portfolio in a year, right? Imagine growing 300%.
Right, just 1% better every day.
Yep.
So it's my thing is like, everything's overwhelming when we look at the whole picture, but the puzzle is not when we look at one piece.
Yeah.
So let's do that 1%. Let's look at that one thing and what area you're trying to grow in that, and then let's focus on doing those, so we don't get that overwhelm. That's what makes us stop, right? Like our big thing is, how can we take away the things that make people stop or hesitate or lose the focus of going or the desire? How can we do that? And the more we can do that for our people, the more likely they are to get where they want to get to.
So good, man.
I love it.
I think this is a great transition. You know, we have, oh man, I wish we had more time. And this is going to be a part 2 for sure at some point. Because you guys have this incredible event coming up. We'll chat in a second. But for those listening and watching right now, what is that one action point, right? Like to start getting that momentum, those wins. And I feel like the whole episode is a masterclass on how to do this, right? But like, let's see somebody that's starting to publish, somebody that's building a business right now, that they're building the team, that they're building their capacity, they're increasing their resources, as in they're working on their sales, on their servitude to their audience and their customers. Like, what is that one thing, that action point that they can do today to continue to move forward?
Oh, that's a good question. So that's a good question, because you put where they are, right? A position. So like my first thing is your messaging is key. Because if your messaging isn't clear, like people always think your brand is a cool logo, right? Like I'm like, no, that's a brand identifier, right? Like we have to really know terms here, right? Like this is a brand identifier. If this was the coolest part of us, we'd suck. Yeah. Right? Like no offense to the person who created the logo, right? I don't want them getting all pissy with me. Like, you just made fun of the logo, right? Like, no, I bleed the blue and green. Like that's what I'm about. But if this was our best part of our business, we don't have a business on.
Yeah.
All right. So it's our messaging. I always go to your messaging, and when it's like, that's a real like bland answer. So I'm going to dissect it a little bit. Your who, like who do you serve? Mm-hmm. Right, like who's your ideal client? Like who do you serve? And not so much the demographics, but more the psychographics.
Yeah, you're a Bitmoji, right?
Yeah. You're Bitmoji. I was like, what's that? Your ideal client. I'm like, oh shit, man, you should have just said that. Yes, we have that. Right, because they're like, do you have a Bitmoji? I was like, no. Like I have to create that. Like that's helping. Yeah. And they're like, you don't have an ideal client? I'm like, no, shit, yeah, I got that. That's a Bitmoji. Like, I don't think so. My daughter has a Bitmoji. She does not have an ideal client. Yeah. Right? If she does, she's losing the phone today. Yeah. But it's like, so I was lost. But it's the idea, like, who are you truly serving? Yep. Psychographics over demographics. Dude, people in the niche space right now, there's so much about like, you serve 35-year-old restaurant managers of Italian descent. I'm like, no, shut up. Right? Like, what's the fears? What's the desires? Like, what makes them stay up at night? What makes them get up in the morning? What makes them stay in bed or get out of bed? Like, those are the things we really need to know to be able to communicate with your people. And then like, what problem do you solve and what issue do you fix? They're two different things. You can have both. You can have one. But they're different things. And then that's the above surface. Under the surface, what feeling is your person in? What feeling do they get when they sign with you, and what feeling do they get when they're done with you? Right? Like, how are you walking through them that journey so they know the journey, that they know they even want to take on it? Yeah. Right? If I'm like, hey guys, take a trip with me, you're like, where? Like, oh, I don't know. Right? You guys be like, no. Right? Like, it's like you have to know the trip you're. come on. And then understanding, this is the new catch one that people love to say because like Russell Brunson says it, so now everybody says it, right? And it's the status in which you change. But people think status change, they're like, hey, he wants the rollie and the big house, right? Like that might not be the status they care about. It's understanding the status they care about in the community in which they care that they're in, right? Hippies gave up all the cool stuff, all the big price stuff, right? They gave away Mercedes to get a punch buggy. Everybody outside thought that person went broke, right? Everybody inside, they became the coolest in the group. They're like, oh my God, that wood panel van, you're the coolest dude here, right? Like everybody outside's like creeper, right? Like, so it's like, it's all like, we have to know the community in which they care about. And then you go into where are your people? Dude, one of the biggest waste of time and money in my life when I started a business was doing everything everybody told me I had to do to be legit in business, right? And none of it was get results for your people, right? It was like, you need this website, you need this logo, get this cool little jingle, right? And I'm like, I have to do a jingle? Like, I suck at singing, right? Like, I don't have a singing voice, I can't do it. I forget words all the time. Like, I shouldn't do that. Right? And it was like, so I was so focused on all this BS, right? Like getting a cool logo, right? Like it was, and it wasn't what really does it, right? So you build a website, you're going to have 4 people come to your website, you're going to be depressed, right? That was my life for like 4 years. Right? I was just like, why can't I get more people on my website? Right? And it was because there's this beacon in the middle of nowhere. No one knows it's there, right? So it's like, where are your people that you can communicate with, align with, right? Resonate with, build a connection with, then they go, right? It's that journey that we don't want to do of really building customers. You don't, an amateur's, Dan Kennedy, an amateur's worried about the first sale, right? Like we can't be worried about that. We're worried about building a relationship with our people. We have people that literally walk through our value steps. It's not a ladder. If it looks like steps, that's called steps, right? Because everybody's like, value ladder? I'm like, I don't know about your ladders. My ladders go like this. Right? Steps go like this, right? So it's value steps. And we walk them through a free to small buy-in, to bigger buy-in, to 10K, to 25K. We walk them through those steps because we build that relationship. We show them we have value to offer. We show we can get some results or we can guide them to them. And they're like, yeah, I want to be part of this. You help. Right? And if I would be so stupid if I was like, no, but thank God we got them on that $27 item. Right, which really just gave them a little different framework appearance, right? Just gave them a different perspective, and then didn't really get them to the result they wanted. Yeah. So it would be fool's gold. It'd be like, selling someone crack, but it was really candy.
Yeah, love it. And thank you, Michael, for dissecting it, right? Like you literally did like this amazing step by step.
That might have been the worst example I ever used. I apologize. I'm glad you guys really skipped right over that. The people around me were like, I know it was bad.
No, that was perfect. And I love when people go in because you name the step by step, right? And here's what I see too. I see your passion, man. Like this, you've been doing it for a while. We know you care. Like it's incredible, right? And when we talk, it's crazy because when we talk about content, like we get like that heated, and we're like, and this framework, and that other, and this is the first thing on capacity, and people are like, whoa, guys, you're really passionate. I'm like, yeah, because this has changed your life, right? And it's changing so many others, right? And I love it, right? And this is what it is, right? So for you listening, right? Like, do you feel like that about your thing? Do you feel like that about your community? Do you feel like that about your steps, your value steps? I love value steps. We might have to switch our terminology here. So
we'll get credit. Don't worry. We'll give credit to you.
Yes.
I just want more people to think.
So same thing, man. I just want to say thank you because on top of the value, on top of the step by step, on top of the action point, you're bringing that passion, man, and that's why people are with you. That's why people are with your business and your community, and that's why your team is with you. I'm assuming, right? So I just want to say thank you. So for the people around you, we loved it. Yes, absolutely. So so obviously you've been doing this for quite a while now, right? Like you 11 years, a day or two. So you said that you're recently investing in your first, ad campaign for X reason. But the question that I really want to ask, like publishing comes in many ways, right? And you guys are present, right? You guys are where your people is. You guys are creating these conversations, right? So on the publishing in general, like where will you be if you did not publish?
Oh God, nowhere. But our big zero, we wouldn't be anywhere. Our big thing, and that's an honest answer, like, clearly, if we're doing our first actually video for ad campaign, our first ad campaign, we've done everything organically. All right. And it's been just making sure our message was to our people. Right. And the only reason why we're even looking at an ad campaign now is because now we have so many things that we're responsible for our people, because we have so many more people coming in that it's like, I can't do lead gen, 3/4 of the day and still be able to serve the people we have already in. So I'm like, yo, it's like something's got to give here.
Yeah.
Right. And this was what I had to give. So I'm like the most anti-ad guy. All right. Just because I'm like, people think the ad is scaling. Right. And I'm sorry, I went way off on the topic on this.
No, we love it.
Language,
right?
Same language. We're good.
Nice. So scaling is a symptom, not a cause. But most people think scaling is a cause. I'm like, no, like if you aren't selling what you're selling organically, you're not going to really sell it ad-wise. Right? Like you have to be able to construct a message and offer, right? The connector, the bridge, the story, whatever you want to call it, to get people through the journey and make them hit that buy button organically. Someone called it the lunchroom test, and I love that. They're like, go to a mall, stand on the table in the middle of the food court, scream your shit. If no one buys, go back and try again. Like, go back and learn.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I got arrested when I tried that, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. But like, it was a real option, and it was. But what they were saying was like, if you can't sell this thing organically, you're going to lose money trying to run ads to it. And how many people have we both know have run ads and lost their ass because it wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
It wasn't at the point where you could back it with money and make money. And most people, and we know in the business, on the front end of ads, if you break even, it's all right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, right? If you even break even, because in the back end, you can crush it. Right? So it's like the front end, you want to break even. But there's people that lose 30, 40, 50,000 on the front end. I'm like, that's a big chunk just for an ad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hell, we lost 60 at a conference a couple years back hosting one, and that was just like never again, right? And they're like, no, but the back end we're going to make so much more. I'm like, I don't care, right? Like, like we weren't talking about the back end, we were talking about this front end. We got to be smarter with the front end, so then it's less damage. Because there's a lot of businesses right now that take a $50,000 hit and they're out.
Yep.
Ball game over, right? So it's my thing is always protecting your business and your movement, and by that you're protecting the people you serve. So if you can't do something organically, you can't do it ad-wise. Our organic presence was all content.
Yeah.
Right? Video, audio form, still graphic video, like still graphic meme form, right? Like there's a million ways that you can make content, and there's a different breaking people's pattern, right? We teach the break stick method. We want to break every single person's pattern, right? Because we want, even if you're not our guy, we still want you to see us.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because if you ever become our guy, you'll already have brand recognition with me to think, oh man, these are the people I should talk to. Right? So we want to break everyone, and then we want to stick the people that are our people and ready to be our people.
Yeah.
Right. And that's through header, right? First couple lines of copy, things of that nature. So if we weren't doing that, man, you wouldn't know like this. I definitely wouldn't be on your show. Like, I'd be asking you how to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're not creating, why I think you guys are so on to something so huge, if you're not creating content regularly, all right, you're falling further behind in a game where now there's masses in the space. Right? Like 10 years ago, I was just like, oh, this is going to be easy. There's like no one in the space.
Yeah.
Right. And then in 10 years, it's like millions of people are doing this now.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're not being seen, heard, and felt daily, you have a problem. Right? It's probably not good.
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate that answer.
Cause and symptom.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, no.
Very powerful. I mean, we 100% agree with everything that you said, right?
Yeah.
It took us a while to figure it out, right? And this is why we're so passionate to help others get there, right? Like, and we're like, how do we multiply those points of contact? How do we build trust? How do we create conversations, right? To find out really if even what we do is what they really want, right? Or need, right? And those conversations, those pieces of content, those interactions is what's going to get us there, right?
Right.
I appreciate you, man. Today was incredible. Let's chat a little bit to close out the show about your events. You guys are planning these incredible events coming up for your community, for your people, and hopefully somebody listening and watching today can take action and join your community, because truly today has been an incredible experience. So where can we find you? What are these events about? And where can they go to sign up?
Right. I'm going to do the classic server mentality right now. Right. Yes, I'm going to answer that question, but there's always a but. But how on point you guys are about what you're saying and doing, right? Like, this is a testimony to you guys. You guys did not pay me for this at all. All right. Like, you guys, this is on point on what you're saying. To get a 7-figure business, it is hustle, right? To 7 figures is hustle. After 7 figures, it changes, which sucks because it took me multiple times of losing 7 figures to figure out that I had to stop and adjust. Like, this was a different game when you hit a certain point. But to hit 7 figures, it's hustle. Right? And you hustle by just creating content. You get your message heard over and over and talking to the person through their journey. They're in the pain or problem. They're running from the 3 Ps, pain, problems, or past. They're running towards 3 Ds, dreams, desires, or destinations, or they're in the state you want, right? And if you can communicate with people along that line over and over and over and over again, understanding that you can serve them whatever step of the line they are. That's how you build people in your community, your clients, your customers, whatever you call them, right? You call them family. So that's how you build it. If you're not doing that, I hope you have a really big backer, because it's going to take a lot of that in order for you to make up from the hustle. Yeah. Right. And you guys are teaching the hustle part, the 7 figures easy. And then after that, it's still that, but then other people help you do it. It's learning, it's creating systems, and then creating, knowing that you have to give up 60 to 80% of what you do and really focus on the 40, 20% you do really well, and let someone else do the 60 to 80% that you do good, but they can do good too. Yeah. All right. Even if they don't do it as good as you, because a lot of us are cocky egomaniacs and we're like, no, I do it the best. Right? Like, it's like, okay, shut up. Right. And I had to get over that too.
Yep.
But we do have we have an event coming up. We're in Mexico, April 22nd to 25th, but we have a headquarters retreat. We have 4 of them a year here at headquarters in the great state of Delaware. It's the only state that ends in where, because most people don't know where it is. And right, so it's fantastic. And but it's very unique. We do it. You remember when it's like, you're not going to take a trip you don't know anything about. Everybody that comes on this takes a trip they really don't know much about, because I'd rather control freaks be mad at me than have a predetermined judgment on something they're doing and block themselves from the reward they can get from it.
Yes.
Wow.
Right. So you'll know the hotel you're coming to. You know you're coming to Delaware. You know you're coming to our headquarters. Right. You'll know the hotel you're coming to. We have a driving service pick you up at the airport, because Delaware doesn't really have a great airport. So we go 2 hours each way. We have driving services bring you to the hotel in your price, in the price of your thing. Your hotel is there. All meals are included, and the transportation to and from the airport. The only thing you have to cover is the flight. All right. Because you got to have something, man.
Yeah.
All right. Because I'm not putting you in first class. But, right? So, all right. Someone asked me that. I'm like, you take care of your flight. If you want first class, you got it. Yeah. Right. But, and really what we do here is we break things down into 7 Ps, and here we break down perspective. So it's really a lot of the mind game in order to create the life you want, the relationships you want, the business you want, the health you want, right? And through that journey. So anybody ever interested in doing one of those, come on out. We have around, because we COVID safe, so we're around 25 to 30 people, right? We do social distancing. We have colors to implement, like, that you put on yourself to let you know your comfort level. So it's like, red means put your damn mask on and stay away from me, right? Green means hug me, you crazy bastard, you. Right? So it's all like different colors, different people. All right, but we've had like 3 or 4 since November or October of last year, and have 0 cases of COVID from our events.
Let's
so thank God
go.
Right, let's go. Right, and we've sold out every one so far. But so really, if you're looking for that next level and that community of people that's going to help support, push, drive forward, and be there for you, but also hold you accountable, check you when you need be, because we all need to be checked sometimes. Come on through and see what we do.
Awesome. Where can people find about the event? Where can they go to buy the tickets? Because obviously they're going to buy the tickets right after this.
Right. Oh, definitely. UnleashYouNowRetreats.com. You can also go to UnleashYouNow.com. You can find Unleash You Now on Facebook. You can find me, Michael Fabber, or the Coach Mike Fabber, on every platform. Listen, I'm so available. My number and email are like publicly posted, because I'm like, we're never alone. One of the biggest lies is that the entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. And I think they say that to us to try to scare us out of it. It does not have to be. There's a bunch of us forging this path, right, together. And all you got to do is reach out. So I put my number and email public, because anytime you're going through something, I don't care if you ever paid me a dime or not, you're not alone. I'm here with you. Right. And there's a bunch of other people that are too. So definitely reach out. Let me know any questions you have. It's a application process too. So you just can't go by. We gotta make sure you fit this one, right? Like, because there's certain ones where I'm like, probably not the best, right?
Yeah, I love it. Taking care of your community, man. And I love the message of you don't have to go alone at it in the entrepreneurial journey. I think that could be a whole new topic for episode 2 as well. Man, thank you so much. We're going to leave all the links at the bottom at the description, right? So whatever you're listening right now to the podcast, you scroll down, you're going to see all the links. Maybe we'll put your phone number and email in there too for people to contact you, man. And dude, thank you so much. This has been so exciting, so refreshing. Love your energy. Dude, thank you.
Dude, I will say this. I've been on a couple podcasts in the last decade, right? And you guys run an amazing podcast. I love how you do it. And also, I love your servant heart, man. You guys are really about. It's great seeing such like people, up and comers in the game, take the approach of serving first. So I appreciate you guys. You guys make me feel better about being in the space with you. So thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you, man. Coming from you, I mean, we'll take this. This is definitely, Rafa, take this up, please. And just like, we'll frame it on like this loop in the TV, going over and over. We appreciate you, Michael. We know Brandon, thank you if you're listening, because this connection was incredible. Yep. And I hope is for many years to come. I think there's a lot of overlap here, and incredible story. And thank you for allowing us to be a part of it, man. Big thank you to you and your team. And with that, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe and follow button on your favorite podcasting platform, and follow us on social media at BizBrosGo.
That is right. And if you find this episode impactful and Michael helped you move one step forward to your goal, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye, guys.